When my son's fiancée walked into my home and said she understood why my wife died young, I knew exactly what kind of woman she was. I'm Martin Chen, 62 years old, retired from Portland Fire and Rescue after 30 years. My wife Jennifer died 6 years ago from cancer. Our son Stephen is 33, works in marketing, and until 5 months ago, I thought I'd raised him to recognize a con artist when he saw one. The dinner was supposed to be a fresh start. Stephen had been dating Diana Morrison for 5 months, talked about her with an excitement I hadn't heard since his divorce 3 years back. He wanted me to meet her properly, to see she was different. I spent the afternoon preparing. Roasted chicken with herbs Jennifer used to grow in our garden. Potatoes the way Stephen loved them. Fresh bread from Morrison Street Bakery. Set the dining room table with good china, the set Jennifer's mother gave us when we married. Every plate had a story. This house. Jennifer and I bought it in 1989 with every penny we'd saved. 3 bedrooms, small yard, quiet street in outer southeast Portland. Nothing fancy, but ours. We brought Stephen home from the hospital to this house. Jennifer planted roses that still bloom. She died in the bedroom upstairs, and I held her hand through every terrible hour. So when Diana Morrison looked around my living room, calculating property value, instead of seeing a home, I felt it like a fist to the chest. They arrived at 6. Stephen came through first, bringing nervous energy. He hugged me, whispered, "Be nice, Dad." Diana followed. 32, polished, expensive clothes. She shook my hand with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mr. Chen, Stephen's told me so much about you." "Call me Martin. Come in." She stepped past me and her eyes moved across everything I owned. Not admiring, appraising. The older television. Furniture Jennifer and I chose in 1995. Family photos in frames that weren't new. "This is cozy," she said. Then she turned to me. "Stephen warned me you were tough. 30 years as a firefighter. But he didn't prepare me for—" She paused, letting her eyes travel across my face, every line and scar. "Well, I understand why Jennifer left early. Living with someone so intense, that stress causes all kinds of health problems. Jennifer died of pancreatic cancer. Had nothing to do with stress. Diana Morrison knew that, or didn't care. I stood very still. 30 years fighting fires teaches you not to react immediately. You assess, you plan, you execute when ready. "Dinner's getting cold," I said. Diana moved toward the dining room. Stephen followed like he'd been trained. We sat. I'd put Diana across from me so I could watch her. Stephen took the seat beside her, reaching for her hand under the table. I served the food. Diana looked at her plate like I'd offered something questionable. "This looks home-style," she said. "Most people use meal services now. More efficient." "I like cooking." "Of course. But time is money, especially on a fixed income." She took a small bite. "The house must be expensive to maintain. Old places like this, something's always breaking." Stephen jumped in. "The house is beautiful, Diana. I grew up here." "I know, babe." She squeezed his hand. "I'm thinking practically. Your dad's alone here. 4 bedrooms for 1 person. Property values in this neighborhood have shifted too." There it was. Not even 15 minutes, and she was assessing my property's worth. "The neighborhood is fine," I said. "Of course." She smiled. "Stephen and I have been talking about our future. After the wedding, we'll need space. It seems inefficient for you to be here alone while we're cramped in a 1-bedroom. We could help with expenses, keep you company." I set down my fork carefully. "You're not moving into my house." Stephen's face flushed. "Dad, we're just discussing options." "No," I said, looking at Diana. "She's testing boundaries, seeing how far she can push." Diana's smile disappeared. For 1 second, I saw what lived underneath. Something cold. Then the mask returned. "I'm trying to build a relationship with my future father-in-law," she said. Stephen talks about your strength, how you raised him alone. I respect that. I'm thinking about what's best for everyone. What's best is you and Stephen building your own life in your own place. That's not very family-oriented. Her voice got quieter, harder. Women living alone at your age face all kinds of risks. Health problems, accidents, cognitive decline. Having family around is important. The subtle threat wrapped in concern. I was too old, too weak to manage alone. I stood. Thank you both for coming. We're done. Stephen's head snapped up. Dad, we just got here. And now you're leaving. Diana gathered her purse with deliberate movements. Stephen looked between us, confused. I walked to the door, opened it. Diana left first. Stephen hesitated. Dad, good night, Stephen. He left. I closed the door, locked it, stood in sudden silence. My hands were shaking now. The phone rang next morning. Stephen. I answered. Dad, we need to talk about last night. I agree. You embarrassed us. Diana was trying to connect, and you shut her down. I poured coffee, took my time. Diana insulted your mother's memory, calculated my home's value, and suggested I was too old to live independently, all within 20 minutes. She didn't mean it like that. Yes, she did. Silence. Then, why can't you just try? For me? My son, asking me to ignore disrespect for his sake. Asking me to make myself smaller so his fiancée could feel bigger. Stephen, I love you, but I won't pretend to like someone who treats me badly, and I won't let anyone move into this house. It's just a house, Dad. Just a house, where his mother died, where I'd rocked him to sleep, where every room held memories. No, I said, it's not. He hung up. 3 weeks of silence, the kind that feels like punishment. I kept my routine. Morning, walks. Coffee at the diner, Thursdays. I started writing things down. Dates, times, exact quotes. In firefighting, you document everything. The habit saves lives. I figured it might save my house. The call came Tuesday afternoon. Stephen again, different tone. Dad, Diana and I want to apologize properly. Can we take you to lunch? Just talking. I didn't believe him, but said yes. Neutral location. My choice. Tomorrow noon. I picked a downtown diner. Can't perform wealth there. They arrived exactly on time. Diana dressed down. Jeans, simple shirt, no expensive jewelry. Both looked humble. Performance. Martin, Diana said, I owe you an apology. I was nervous and overcompensated by being critical. That wasn't fair. Perfect tone, contrite without groveling. If I hadn't seen her real face, I might have believed it. Actions matter more than words, I said. I understand. Let me prove it. Lunch was painfully civil. Diana asked about firefighting with questions that sounded genuine. When the check came, she reached for it. I let her pay. Watched how she made sure the server saw her generous tip. Still performing. 3 days later, they showed up with grocery bags. We were at the store and thought of you, Stephen said. Expensive items, organic vegetables, imported olive oil, things I'd never buy. Diana moved through my kitchen like trying on the space. You've got good bones here, real craftsmanship. They stayed an hour. Diana was warm, asked about neighbors. When she left, she hugged me briefly. The visits continued. Once a week, then twice. I watched for cracks. Found them. Standing at my window one visit, looking at Tom's house across the street, Diana said, Your neighbor should really do something about that yard. Makes the whole street look unfortunate. Tom works 2 jobs. He does his best. Property values affect everyone. Some people don't understand that. I filed it away. Another visit, she helped put away groceries and pivoted to finances. Have you thought about what you'll do with the house eventually? Maintaining it alone must be expensive. Stephen and I researched reverse mortgages. I'm not discussing my finances with you. She backed off quickly, smiled, changed topics. But the intent was clear. After each visit, I sat at my desk and wrote what she said about Tom's yard, how she assessed my kitchen, how she steered toward money. 4 weeks into this charm offensive, they visited Sunday. Diana excused herself to use the bathroom. When they left, I found magazines on my coffee table, Restoration Hardware, West Elm, expensive catalogs, sticky notes marked pages, Diana's handwriting, master bedroom, finally masculine space, living room, modern, not dated. Eliminate the old man aesthetic, room names from my house, furniture for spaces she didn't own, left deliberately. I called them next day. You left reading material, I said when Diana answered. Pause. Oh, those magazines. Must have fallen out. With notes about my master. Bedroom? In my house? Longer pause. Just ideas for our apartment. You wrote, eliminate the old man aesthetic. You don't have an old man in your apartment, Diana. Silence. You're planning to redecorate my home, despite all the apologies. Martin, this conversation is over. I hung up, walked to my filing cabinet, pulled out my deed, existing will, bank statements, pension information, spread everything across my desk, everything Jennifer and I built, everything they thought they could claim because I was old and alone. I picked up the phone, called Rebecca Chen, lawyer I knew from the department. No relation. I need to see you, as soon as possible. What's going on? My son's fiancée is trying to steal my house. Come in tomorrow, 9 a.m. I spent that night documenting the insults, the fake apologies, the magazines, the pattern clear on paper. Over the next 2 weeks, Rebecca and I built an ironclad defense, living trust amendments, transfer on death deed, documentation proving sound mind, beneficiary confirmations with Portland Firefighters Benevolent Fund, every signature another lock on a door Diana thought she could open. When we finished, Rebecca handed me copies. Keep these secure. Make sure Stephen knows they exist. Diana Morrison had a plan to acquire my property. She'd insulted me, manipulated my son, performed false kindness, planned renovations. And I'd just locked every door. The call came during breakfast a week later. Stephen's number. Dad, great news. We've moved the wedding up to August. Diana thinks it makes sense for us to move in right after. You've got all that space, and honestly, we're worried about you being alone. My hand tightened on the phone. I'm not alone. I'm independent, and you're not moving in. Don't be like that. 4 bedrooms, just you rattling around. We'd help with expenses. Stephen, the answer is no. His tone shifted. You know what your problem is? You're selfish. You'd rather sit in that house alone than help your own son. Background noise. Then Diana's voice, shrill and close. She'd grabbed the phone. You stubborn old man. We've tried being nice. We've tried including you. You're standing in the way of our future because you're bitter and alone. I held the phone away. Her voice came through tiny and distorted, rage making her words sharp. This conversation is over, I said calmly. We'll see about that. I hung up. 3 days passed. Then mail came. Professional envelope. Portland Realty Group. I opened it at my kitchen counter. Dear homeowner, thank you for your interest in our property evaluation services. Per your request through Ms. Diana Morrison, we've prepared a preliminary market analysis for your property. Estimated value, $425,000. Request date, 3 weeks ago, right during Diana's charm offensive. While pretending to apologize, while bringing groceries, she'd been pricing my house, planning to sell it, calculating her profit. I called the agency. I'm the homeowner. I never authorized this. Pause. Our records show Diana Morrison contacted us on behalf of the family for estate planning. I agreed to nothing. Send me all correspondence. Of course, sir. I drove to Rebecca's office that afternoon, showed her the letter. This confirms positioning, she said. She's not just planning, she's executing, but we're ahead of her. Your documents are sealed. She has no standing. 2 days later, Stephen called again. Different tone. Careful. Dad, I know things got heated, but the wedding's in 6 weeks. Diana's parents want to meet you properly. Can we all have dinner? One more chance? I went still. Her parents. Yes. Robert and Linda Morrison. Good people, down to earth. Maybe if we all sit down together. Meeting the parents. Either Diana was trying a new angle, or something else was happening. When? This Saturday, 6 p.m., at your house. Having everyone come to you shows you're willing. My house. Always my house. Fine. Saturday at 6. I spent 3 days preparing, cleaned every room, planned a careful menu. If this meeting failed, it wouldn't be because I hadn't tried. Saturday came. By 6, the house smelled right, warm, inviting. The doorbell rang at 6 sharp. I opened the door. Robert Morrison, maybe 65. Gray hair, kind eyes. Linda Morrison beside him, early 60s, navy dress, nervous smile. Normal people? Good people. Mr. Chen, thank you for... Linda stopped, stared at me, intensely, studying my features like solving a puzzle. She gripped Robert's arm. Wait. Robert, look at his face. Really look. Robert turned full attention to me. His expression shifted from polite to confused to something else. Your face, Linda whispered. I know your face. I don't think we've met, I said. We have. Robert stepped closer, examining me. His voice shook. 23 years ago. You saved our daughter's life. The world tilted. Behind me, Stephen appeared. What? Dad? What's he talking about? Robert wasn't looking at Stephen. Our house caught fire. September 2002. We got out, but Diana hid. She was 9 years old, terrified, hid in her bedroom closet upstairs. Everything slowed down. You went in when other firefighters said it was too dangerous. Linda's voice broke. Tears streamed down her face. You brought her out unconscious. You saved her. September 2002, 23 years ago. House fire, east side. Family escaped but child still inside. Structure unstable. Captain ordered wait for backup. I'd gone in anyway. Found her in a bedroom closet. 9 years old, unconscious. Carried her out seconds before ceiling collapsed. Diana, I said slowly. Your daughter Diana is our Diana. The little girl you rescued. Linda reached for my hands, gripped them hard. She has scars on her back and arms from that fire. You gave her a future. You gave us our daughter back. Movement from the hallway. Diana emerged, drawn by voices, still wearing that fake smile. What's going on? Then she heard Linda's words, registered what her mother was saying. The firefighter who saved our daughter 23 years ago. Diana stopped walking. Her smile cracked. The fire, she said, voice barely audible. Martin Chen, Station 12. Linda looked at me. You stayed with us in the ambulance. You gave Diana your badge to hold while paramedics worked. Told her firefighters are brave. She had to be brave too. Diana stared at me. I watched recognition slam into her like physical force. Confusion, realization, horror, shame. Her face went white. You saved me, she whispered. Then her legs gave out. She dropped to her knees on my living room floor. Diana covered her face with her hands. A sound came from her throat, something between gasp and sob. What have I done? Her whole body shook. I didn't know. God, I didn't know. The room froze. Robert and Linda gripping my arms, tears on both faces. Stephen standing near the dining room, speechless. Diana on the floor, sobbing. And me trying to process. This woman, this cruel, entitled woman who'd insulted my dead wife, tried to steal my house, manipulated my son. She was the 9-year-old girl I'd carried from a burning building. Dad? Stephen's voice sounded far away. You never told me you saved her life specifically. I saved a lot of people, I heard myself say. It was my job. I didn't keep track of names. You did more than your job. Robert's voice was thick. You risked your life. We moved to Seattle right after. Too many memories. But I've thought about you every day for 23 years. Linda was crying harder. We tried to find you, but everything was chaos. We were focused on Diana's recovery, the burns, the trauma, the nightmares. By the time we thought to search properly, we'd moved. We didn't know your name. Diana made another sound, not words, raw anguish. Her parents looked at her, then at me, trying to understand what was happening. She didn't know who I was, I said quietly. She's been trying to take my house, insulting me, manipulating Stephen, planning to move in after the wedding. I changed my will to protect my property. She called me a stubborn old man standing in the way of her future. Silence. Complete silence except for Diana's sobs. She told me I was the reason my wife died young, I continued, looking at Robert and Linda. That was the first thing she said to me. Linda's hand went to her throat. Robert went pale. I didn't know, Diana managed through tears. I swear I didn't know it was you. I didn't remember clearly. Just shadows and smoke and someone carrying me. If I'd known, if you'd known, I said, would you have been different? Or would you have just used it differently? She looked up at me. Her face was destroyed. Eyes red, expression shattered. For the first time since I'd met her, I saw something genuine. I don't know, she whispered. I was so angry about the scars, about the nightmares, about being weak and scared. I spent my whole life proving I was strong, that I couldn't be hurt, and I became... Her voice broke. I became cruel. Stephen finally found his voice. Mom died when I was 27. You were there for me through everything. Why didn't you ever talk about saving lives like this? I looked at my son. Because after your mother got sick, I left that part of my life behind. Talking about the past felt like opening wounds. But you're a hero. I was a firefighter. I did my job. Robert was staring at me. You gave us 23 more years with our daughter. Every moment we've had with her, we owe to you. Diana made another broken sound. I stood very still, then gestured to the dining room. Let's sit down. Robert and Linda moved first, taking seats on one side. Stephen helped Diana up from the floor. She was shaking, unsteady. He led her to a chair. She sat but wouldn't look up, arms wrapped around herself. I took my place at the head of the table. The food I'd prepared sat cooling, forgotten. Tell me what happened that night, I said to Robert. He nodded. September 2002, smoke alarm at 2 a.m. Flames were already consuming the first floor. Electrical fire, faulty wiring. We got out through the back. That's when we realized Diana wasn't with us. Linda continued, voice breaking. She'd been sleeping upstairs. When the alarm went off, she panicked. Instead of coming to us, she hid. That's what 9-year-olds do when terrified. Firefighters arrived fast, Robert said. Maybe 6 minutes, but the structure was unstable. Captain was setting up. We kept screaming our daughter was inside. He said they had to wait for backup. I remembered. Station 12, East Side. Captain Morrison, different Morrison, had been by the book, smart firefighting. Then one firefighter just went in. Robert's voice shook. Captain was shouting not to go. Said the structure was compromised. But you went anyway. The memory surfaced clear. I'd been with Portland Fire 10 years then. Young enough to think I could save everyone. But there was a child in that building. You disappeared into smoke, Linda said. We waited, felt like hours, probably 3 minutes. Then you came out coughing, covered in soot, carrying Diana. She wasn't moving. I remembered her weight, 9 years old, unconscious, limp in my arms. The beam that fell behind me as I descended stairs, missing me by feet. Paramedics worked on her on the lawn. Robert continued. You stayed until they got her breathing. You had burns on your arms. He gestured toward my forearms. The scars there, faded but permanent. You wouldn't leave until you knew she'd be okay, Linda said. Then you did something else. In the ambulance, Diana was conscious but terrified. You gave her your badge, Station 12, number 247. Told her to be brave. Diana's hand went to her chest, touching something through her shirt. I still have it, she whispered suddenly. Everyone looked at her. She reached into her shirt, pulled out a chain. Hanging from it was a tarnished firefighter's badge, number 247. Mine. I've worn it every day for 23 years, Diana said, voice breaking. Thought it would make me brave, but I became... She couldn't finish. Linda was crying again. Diana, honey, no. Diana shook her head violently. You don't understand what I did. Mom, Dad, he saved my life. He saved me, and I walked into his home and told him he killed his wife. I mocked everything about him. I planned to steal his house. I manipulated Stephen. I became exactly the kind of person who shouldn't exist. She looked at me finally. I became the opposite of the person who saved me. The silence was heavy. I stood up. Everyone's eyes followed me. I went into that fire to save a child who deserved a chance at life, I said. My voice was steady. A child who was innocent and scared and needed help. I'm disappointed that child grew into someone who would treat others with cruelty, someone who would try to take what isn't hers. Diana's shoulders shook harder. But, I continued, I see genuine remorse now, not performance, actual understanding. So I forgive you, Diana. Her head snapped up, eyes wide with disbelief. However, my tone firmed. Forgiveness isn't the same as trust. Respect isn't given automatically because we share history. It has to be earned. If you want to be part of this family, you'll need to show through actions, not words, that you've changed. That the person you were at 9, the one who deserved to be saved, is someone you're willing to become again. Diana stared at me, then slowly nodded, unable to speak. What happens now? Linda asked softly. Now, I said, we see if words become actions, if remorse becomes change. I'll prove it to you, Diana said, still crying. I promise. Then prove it. Not tomorrow, not in some grand gesture, in the small choices you make every day from this point forward. The evening stretched on. We talked about the fire, about my career, about the years between. Eventually, Robert and Linda left, hugging me with gratitude that felt almost painful. Stephen and Diana followed. At the door, Diana paused. Thank you, she whispered, for saving me then, and for giving me a chance now. I nodded, didn't offer false comfort, just acknowledgement. After they left, I stood in my quiet house, surrounded by the dinner that never happened. I'd prepared for war, built legal fortifications, armed myself against manipulation. Instead, fate had revealed truth. The 6 months passed. Diana started therapy the first week, a specialist in trauma and compensation behaviors. She came to visit me alone once, without Stephen, 3 weeks after the revelation. Sat on my porch, hands wrapped around coffee. I need to understand why I became that person, she said. The therapist says I built armor after the fire, made myself untouchable so I couldn't be hurt again. But the armor became a prison. That's honest work, I said. I'm trying. She came back every few weeks, small visits, careful conversations. I watched for manipulation. Didn't see it. Saw someone struggling to rebuild instead. The wedding happened in October. Small garden venue, 30 guests. Simple ceremony. Diana was trembling when she said her vows, but her voice was steady. A week later, Stephen called. Diana and I signed a lease on a 2-bedroom in Hawthorne. Move-in date is November 1st. Relief flooded through me. That's good. Building your own space. Yeah. Diana insisted. Said we needed to start our marriage in our own place. He paused. Not your place. Our place. She was very clear. The boundary I'd defended had been respected, not because I'd forced it, but because they'd chosen to honor it. Diana sent a letter in November, 3 pages, handwritten. Dear Martin, I can't take back what I said or did. I can only say I'm ashamed of who I was and grateful you're giving me a chance to become someone better. You saved my life twice, once from fire and once from myself. I'm working every day to deserve that second chance. Thank you. I wrote back. Shorter, simpler. Diana, I acknowledge your efforts. Keep doing the work. Respect is earned through sustained action. Late November brought cold evenings and the kind of peace that comes after storms pass. I sat on my front porch, watching the neighborhood settle into dusk. My house stood solid behind me, unchanged, still mine, secure. My phone rang. Stephen's name. Hey, Dad. Diana and I were thinking of trying that new Italian place downtown this weekend. Want to join us? His voice was easy, natural, no tension. Saturday work? Perfect. Just dinner. We just want to see you. I'd like that. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet, thought about revenge plots and legal strategies. All necessary at the time, all rendered unnecessary by truth's intervention. I'd prepared for war. Instead, I discovered the enemy was someone I'd saved. Someone whose cruelty had been compensation for wounds I'd inadvertently helped create. My victory wasn't in punishing her. It was in maintaining my dignity, holding my boundaries, allowing space for genuine transformation. The real battle wasn't about property or wills. It was about respect, truth, and the possibility of redemption. I stood, walked inside my house. Tomorrow I'd have coffee with Tom. Saturday I'd have dinner with my son and daughter-in-law. Next week I'd tend my garden, live my life. The war was over, not because I'd destroyed my enemy, but because truth had transformed her. And I'd stood my ground long enough to see it happen. I walked to my bedroom, to Jennifer's photo on the nightstand. Both of us at the station picnic, 20 years younger. Both smiling. I protected what we built, I said quietly. Like you knew I would. Safe. Secure. Mine. Sometimes the greatest victory is standing firm until the storm passes and peace returns. That was justice.